Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Inlay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and today we have with us Dave, also known as Kanata Waltz. How's it going, Dave?
Hey, that's great. It's yeah, no, I've been really busy, and my place is a bit of a mess. So at a coffee shop right now, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear the people talking in the background. It's fine. Um, Dave, can you maybe you and I we've connected, we've talked offline a bit, but maybe if you could tell the audience a little about yourself.
sure. I'm a classically trained cook, right? And I have like all the material to go for the red seal and all that. And I've always loved cooking. But I guess a lot went on in 2017. Like I moved out of British Columbia for a while there, and I found work. It was a nice French gentleman that ran a restaurant out in New Brunswick. I was just traveling around Canada, right? And I actually visited most provinces aside from Alberta and I guess maybe one or two other ones there. Yeah. Anyways, did some traveling, right? And some family members passed away, and so around 2017, my grandmother had some health issues, and I injured my leg around the same time of that all falling apart, with her health. And so I just kind of packed it up in New Brunswick then, and great people I met down there, like all across Canada, and came back to BC, right, and had to look into getting my knee looked at because and it went through what's it called, a therapy for because I just got injured, right, and I guess went back to the books there for a while because I was kind of held up. I couldn't work in the kitchen at that point, and that's my main source of income. That just working different kitchens, yeah.
Sorry, so you were talking about how you're in the restaurant industry. Do you
Yeah.
have any insight as to what happened to during COVID? Like, did you guys get wiped out, your business?
Well, no, like a lot of them, had to go through taking on the loan structure that the government provided, right? And it's like the big ones downtown in Victoria here, at least. They had the special benefit of they were able to shut down some streets, and I don't think a lot of them reopened. So I guess they just kind of like doubled their outside intake, and it all looked kind of bizarre. I'm sure many more people got like the common cold throughout all that, just sitting outside in the cold, right? Because Victoria rains quite a bit, right? Um, and there's lots of extra procedures and rules, and throughout different parts of Canada, lots of wild stuff went on. Closer where I'm at in Esquimalt, there's that one restaurant, Sunnyside Cafe, and that guy went through a huge ordeal. He got, I guess, the municipality on his case for quite a while, just because he didn't want to train staff to differentiate between customers, right? You want to treat everyone equally, which kind of a higher, setting, right? It was like you want to treat everyone you interact with, hopefully, as uh, equitably as possible, or just more like equally, right? You don't want to treat people differently based on a status or any perceived notion, right? You want to treat everyone come across. And I don't know why that became a fight. That's like in Canada, that should have never been a thing, right? Like how that even got to the point of let's argue about it. Like, do we need our politicians if we're arguing that one, right? Yeah, that's where we were for, I guess, the whole COVID initiative, right?
I was really disappointed at all these restaurant owners. Seemingly, they had no understanding how money works. They're all on board with this debt structure. Basically, you defer your GST and hope for a miracle. And then when the GST comes due, and also they lost a bunch of their business. And I tried standing up for the restaurant owners, and they attacked me. They're like, "How can you? How dare you? There's a pandemic. Like you're losing business."
Yeah, no, like again, so some got like carve outs, at least in Victoria, where they had more property outside their business, and they still have it now. So there's a chance for them to recoup some of the losses, I guess, right? That was a very rare thing. A lot of places just turned into like pick up or to go places, right? You couldn't even enter the building; you just go to the door and collect, right? And like, those guys had to cut staff, and like it's kind of wild, right? And there's a lot of different like I was like following some businesses that went under eventually, right? And just they weren't able to get enough support, or some were, right? It's really unfortunate. Yeah, lots of history lost, right?
Well, moving on, I guess, to something more current events. What's your view of what happened in the last election? Like, what were you hoping the outcome would be, and what do you think is going to happen now that the Liberals got back in?
Yeah, I guess like no, I don't know anyone that would actually like to see the liberal conservative like those parties have been around for maybe over 100 years now. Like they haven't solved all the issues they've been going for 150 years, right? I don't know if we give them another 100 more, they're going to actually do the job, right? I would love to see like another 20 guys jump in there and start their own thing. There's so many ideas we could be trying, and it's like and you put in your like a preamble there for your little party constitution thing there. A lot of things I look at is like we from what I studied of the older structures, like you mentioned, it's like more like a boardroom, but a lot of these guys just they go get hire third parties to think what would look best for our party. They spend as much money as they do when they do get in government on uh, creating projects as well, right? They get a third party, and it's like they pay them, 400,000 to start with. And it's like, does this best represent our party? It's like, well, you're sitting there like in the boardroom yourself, like you decide, like just go for it, right? Like you don't need to just give 100 or 200 or 300,000 for somebody else to do that for you, right? Like you can be the think tank. You could actually do all that, and but yeah, like you could fail. Maybe if you have like all these members, ask them, right? It's like I don't know. I just you see a lot of money wasted. You see a lot of bad policy in a lot of different places. Some quite good. Some are like the motive behind a lot of policy is quite beautiful when you sit down and look at it, right? But other ones is like, well, why did you put that there? There can only be one or two reasons, and they're not good, right? And I come across that in the courts. I come across that in the municipalities. I come across that in the provincial, and I'm sure it's there in the federal too, right? Like it's just like a prevalent thing.
What's going on in the court systems? You told me briefly of what you're doing in court, but what is what's your
Um,
main action there right now?
so yeah, first of all, like history on that is my mother was involved back in the day with a couple of campaigns that she was worried about, right? Like we used to live by the shipyard, and they used to be like the one of the biggest hiring potentials in Victoria, right? And she noticed like one day, 'cause her backyard could actually see the shipyard, that like everything was just covered in dust, like it was just kind of a gross, right? And so she started like a few things. She got air filters, and she would run them for like a month and change them out and like get them get tested and all that sort of thing. And she did it like, and then she's like, this looks dangerous. And she went and got the crown courts and all that. And she did her own thing. And basically, they're just like, we're just going to drain you of all your money and funds until you go bankrupt. And she worked quite hard too. She had a daycare, and she met my father and all that. He worked quite hard as well, but she couldn't afford the bills at the end of the day when she was done all that. Unfortunately, right? And I still respected her for standing up for her community, right? And I once, and there's a few other instances in my life where I do have a appreciation for the legal system, and that was one of them. My mother standing up and trying her best, right? And in the states, of course, there's the Erin Brockovich thing, where she's acing things and getting actual lawyers to help her there. It didn't work out the same way here. Just lots of bills, right? Even if you had all the evidence, it just we're just gonna give you the bill and not help you, or the community around you. I can tell you the fallout of all that one, but it's yeah, it was just not very fun for the family, right?
Man, it's really frustrating because it's so expensive to get a lawyer, and you're watching these court cases where they go in, they say, oh, it's moot, the government like takes away your rights, and then you take them to
Yeah.
court, and then they give the rights back, and the judge is like, well, I guess they gave it back, so no harm, no foul, and they always side with the government.
Well, see in the charter thing, yeah, like more recently over the last 5 years or whatever with all that the medical health stuff, right? Yeah, that like a lot of people like lost their rights and their rights were hurt, right? And a lot of people were traumatized by that. They never had a bad interaction with the government before, right? It's like, why are you telling me what to do, right? You're supposed to collect taxes if I give them to you, right? Like that's how this system works. Why am I seeing you so much now, right? Um, yeah, uh, and like some of the cases, like again, I wouldn't want to represent myself if I had the choice to actually get a lawyer, because the policies in the courts are are pretty tough to actually like handle correctly, right? But like there's I always looked at it as the spirit of the law, right? And I never really wanted to focus on ever representing anyone in BC, including myself. But I had enough like study of American law, lots of books, lots of my mother's books on law, which some of them were Canadian, but again, the majority of the stuff I actually took the time to read American. And then there's also like when you check on the news, and especially the states, you can find that on like a YouTube channel. They're always handling new cases, new precedent. Where Canada, it's like a lot of them like seem to think it's settled, but especially with like charter rates in Canada, there is actually a lot of unsettled stuff. And when I found my own rights being abused, and not in the same way like all the COVID stuff, I was trying to represent myself as a entrepreneur, right? And I was trying to start a business, and I just got like sidelined by a company. I'm like, well, that's like that's not how you should do business with anyone, right? So I tried to resolve that amicably by just speaking with them, and I just got like the wall of indifference. I guess they didn't like what I was trying to build or whatever, right? Yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
It's a comment from the audience, Kanaksaram. The entire court system in Canada serves the crown. It does not serve the citizenry, ergo, no authentic justice. So the crown in this context, like crown prosecutors, the government. So the court
Yeah,
system,
yeah.
I have a theory. Why don't you comment on that, and then I have a theory.
Oh, yeah. Like so, with if you can get the crown to represent you, which is another like hurdle in life, I guess. If you want to try it, yeah, you often find that they weigh like the government perspective too and things, right? And it's just like there's clear as day examples, and you hope there wasn't, right? That's the thing, right? And I have some in my past and present. I'm still in that good fight, whatever it's worth, on my own, because I like getting a lawyer for protecting your own civil rights this day and age. If you're just like a common guy, it's kind of tough, man. Like if they see the value of your case and all that, sure. But like if you sat down and looked at the laws and you looked at like the charter, there's a lot of novel ideas you could try with the charter. That's the beauty of the charter. It gives you a lot of like space. And I've read some of like a lot of have you ever read into Reader's Digest before? Like mostly American service, but they do occasionally do pieces on Canadian works.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, like I've read like bits and pieces of like their like written articles on like Canadian law too. Interesting stuff, right? And again, that's the premise is like with the charter in Canada being newer than say like the Constitution in the U.S., a lot of ground hasn't been tread, right? And there is a lot of room, but you really just kind of hope the court system would like I guess take more interest in novel concepts than case law, right? Yeah.
Um, my Kanaksaram. I don't think he's a big fan of the charter. The charter is pure BS. Section 33 is a nonsense clause. I think 33 is a notwithstanding clause.
All right.
Serfdom by
Yeah, yeah.
design. Um,
Um,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Let's get on that too. It was I guess that clause in there. It can be abused, of course. And I guess like the truckers see it that way. And there's this one petition that May just recently picked up with I guess a fellow LGBT fellow or whatever they all the acronyms and that one is worried about it ever being used to ever claw back any rights that were made in the last 10 years by the Liberal Party. And it's like a wild subject, right? Like, yeah, but like who's actually using that? Oh, it's the Liberal Party. Like, okay, like, yeah, just be a nice person. Don't ever abuse the charter, right? And you're good to go. But yeah, that the whole petition is based on fear, right? Which is unfortunate. Yeah.
What I was going to say, that I said I had a theory. See, the court system, it should be co-equal like in the US, but even in Canada, even though it's under the federal government constitutionally, we had a functioning court system that adjudicated disputes, but now I say that it's collapsed into the government. So it's not even an independent court system anymore. It's part of the government. It's like if me and you went to the club and somebody, came and tried to pick a fight with you, I'm your buddy, I'm going to back you up. I get the same feeling with the courts and the government.
Well, there's a few things going on with that, right? It's I think the real issue there is so a couple years back, like in the 2014 or whatever, maybe earlier or after, they started to include the so there's two main heads of I guess government, there's the Crown Attorney General, and there's the other half, which is like the more disciplinary service one, and that like got rolled into a, I guess a public safety political figurehead. So that was always just lawyers being paid by the government to handle the law, adjudicate it. Now it's like, oh well, I'm a political figure, and then so you have the AG there, and now she's a running candidate. Okay, like we could have sat down and gone over that, and like why, like, so you spent all this money to figure out that was okay, but you're just gonna not touch that with the okay. There's a lot going on there too, right? And there's that dichotomy, and then there's there's just the principles of like a lot of the court system is like worn out, right? Some of the judges, like they feel like they're understaffed in judges. They feel there's just a lot of troubles there too. And if you're, again, even a self-representative, you don't get the time of day. Like it's kind of, at least at the provincial level so far. And like then there's the appeal court. I've don't have as much experience there, and the system is meant to like look after you, and like, oh, you're going to higher court, you should probably have more decorum afforded to you. But there's cracks in that too, right? It's just they are trying, but it's yeah.
You brought up the AG. I have another theory that the firing of Jody Wilson-Raybould, it really started a lot of these things where many of the people that Trudeau surrounded himself with were yes men, like Brenda Lucki, and they're not really doing their job anymore.
Yeah, are you talking about like more like Justin Trudeau's cabinet, or like?
Sorry. Do you remember Jody Wilson-Raybould? She was the Attorney General that was investigating SNC-Lavalin. And
right,
Trudeau,
yeah, I do recall there's a fallout there, yeah.
Yeah, Trudeau told her, like, back off. She said no, so he fired her. And I think after that, Trudeau said, I'm not going to hire whoever's best for the job or the country. I'm going to hire people that will do what I tell them to do.
Yeah, like I think wasn't there like some sort of provision with the fallout of that one that there was supposed to be another group to pick that up? I just never materialized, or I'm sorry, I only caught so many I guess articles on that particular event, right? And I do know that there's a lot of partly involved the RCMP. Is that correct? Or?
The SNC-Lavalin one, or the Brenda Lucki RCMP commissioner?
Oh, okay. Like I thought it was like once that woman was fired, I thought like the RCMP were involved in some way. No, sorry.
I don't know actually what it was. My understanding that nothing happened. Like that to me was the inflection point where if the opposition had put up enough of an opposition and removed Trudeau, we might have been fine. But after that, like, we're just getting scandal after scandal, and Canadians seem to be fine with it.
I can only pay so much attention to the news these days. I think it's more a problem of like a lot of the politicians looking for their soundbite, right? And it's a really weird system. I don't like, and there's solutions for that. Like there's areas you can discuss and put forward and address that sort of thing. But very rare, and like it maybe come from the actual opposition, would be trying to like see one take an issue up on like social media, right? Like Twitter. Very rarely would I see an actual like, oh, hey, I'm slightly against this, get discussed by like after they had their little soundbite, right? They wouldn't get in the trenches with the actual community that are concerned about it, right? Which is kind of distressing on its own. Like even if you aren't like opposition, like you're just like the head of the party, you should be sitting in there going, no, this is why it's good, right? You should be defending your ideas in the actual public space, right? The town square, the social media.
Why don't we shift gears again? You have like a online website civic engagement platform, is that right?
Yeah, Municipal Watch BC.ca. I started that one a couple years ago, and then I was working on some business plans for that and a few other projects. Again, been cooking for 15 years in the hospitality industry. I could I have a few recipes on hand, right? But I kind of got shafted in the whole spending money and sorting my life out on that end thing, and I just wound up in a lot of debt. And I tried to like, okay, like I also study law, so let's give this the old college try, right? And just found a bunch of professionals that like not as professional as they let on in their resume, right? Not a fun time, right?
But like, what is the what's the use of the website? What was your goal? What does it help with?
Yeah, it was meant to help with the feed and all that. Like so in social media, for a while there, we had the whole hashtag thing on Twitter, right? And the idea, with the API, was to work with other websites to work with the hashtag system to kind of build your own feed of like what you thought was important. And if you're looking after the municipalities' events, having a website address that along with the municipalities' own forums or their own newsletters and all that, and as well as I guess your provincial and federal leaders in your I guess province, right? Like you kind of want to see all of that, and so I started putting a lot of that together, and I know how to work the API. But then someone wanted to invest $44 billion. I'm like, oh darn it, and it's like I don't have the like. So to pay for the API expenditure, and he wasn't like Reddit did the same thing, I guess, right? But I don't know who's gonna to go for Reddit, right? It doesn't make as much sense. They're different. Like I get like long form is important, definitely, right? It's important in any thing, but just the way that so a forum with I guess an algorithm is a really weird mixed bag. Like the old forums, the old days of like the BB code and all that, they were set in their way of like just respecting like what's current, I guess, and topical, right? And the everything was like in Reddit, it's like more political based or what have you, right? And that wasn't so much the case back in the day. But, yeah.
So when
Um,
you're talking about forums, like what, like break.com, or just people jump in there and they start talking about random things?
so Reddit is essentially the like a forum, but it's run on an algorithm, right? Long form, you can post as many characters you want, or I guess I think their limit's 20,000 or 40,000, something like that. But forum boards of old were just like HTML websites where you'd have an account and you'd have a username and you just discuss topics of interest, right? And back in the day, they're all like based on I guess anything that you took an interest in. Like some were philosophy, some were art centric, some were the latest and greatest movie. That some like they're much smaller communities, I suppose, but the handling of it was like the latest thing was on top, and or the most recently discussed thing was on top, right? And it was very sectional to like, okay, that's the topic of the day in this, and it worked better than like having the algorithm decide for you what's important in the grand scheme of things, right? So we built this like overarching device that does like 100 different things, and now you're connected to AI, which that doesn't sound that great. And then it was simpler times then, right? Essentially. And but with the tweeting and like the smaller when the hashtags were more prevalent, with the API itself, you could collect that, and it was free before I guess Musk went in there and all that. And it's not like again, I'm sure you can improve upon it, right? Like there is space to make what was original better, but for startups it's really hard to get in there. And that was going to be like a go-to vehicle for I guess a lot of people that wanted to shake things up, I guess, right? Yeah. And the cost of that and cost of subscribing monthly and the cost of, I guess, a business account, it all adds up because then I guess the business accounts, you pay so much and then you get so much in advertising as well. So I guess it's considered a good deal, but it's a lot to start with, right? And it's only like one aspect of some businesses. So, yeah.
Man, you tweaked my curiosity when you said forum. I remember back in the day, you had these like SQL, SQL, PHP sort of
Oh,
packages you could install. You could spin up a website off of a desktop. You
yeah.
could serve for a couple hundred users.
Well, there was MIRC, I guess, which is in real time chat or something like that. And the M was the Microsoft one, I think. That was the bigger of the I guess pre forum days. And that was really fun because you could build timers and stuff there, and you got really advanced later on. That was a lot of fun to work with coding wise. You could have timers do this and that. And that was like where people start first making bots. They're now commonplace in like in I guess Twitch chats, right? Where you have like Nightbot and all these. Essentially, that's where all that began was MIRC and all that, right? That was the old school way, and then forums came about, and they're just simpler and by design. People talk with people. You weren't worried about someone being a bot or a bot farmer. It was just nicer time back then, right?
Yeah, the good old days. But even like first of all, I remember back in the days when you had a modem, uh, it was up to you whether you did download or upload. Now with you have the what do you call it? ISPs, the internet service providers. They cap your upload. So like from a residential area,
Oh,
you can't exactly host anything.
well, that's changing a bit too, I guess. In at least Canada, that is the current slash old system. They're coming out with a faster one now. So it's like a single strand can be devoted to a single family house or family unit or an apartment or what have you. More expensive, but it's your own line to the full extent. Whereas like the old system you're referring to there, it's a mixed bag of like it's the communal upload rate, and then they cap it, and then you got companies like Rogers like, hey, you want roaming things like we'll give you like for $20 a month we'll give you 20 kilobytes. Like, that doesn't even load a picture, man. Like okay for $100, like okay, man, like that's not how that works at all. You need a new system, and like they never changed it. They brought the USB thing and for your laptop. It's all that pricing model is just wild for what they're actually offering, right? But yeah, yeah.
The final thing I'll say before we expose ourselves as complete nerds. Um, what was the unit lamp? Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. I used to love that,
Okay.
but now they've built so many toolkits on top of toolkits that nobody really does that by hand anymore.
Uh, yeah, but so I know a bit about Linux, and like again, like I was like family wise, like one of my like, first businesses I got into was my father's helping him with his website there, and he was a part of a few community organizations that went on that needed websites as well, and we used to make DOS databases and stuff. Like an older brother of the family did, and I'd help him maintain it, sort of thing. But I never went the full on Linux and make your own distro route, and I didn't like. I don't like the direction Windows is going. That's another topic entirely. And it's like same. It's like they're not even as bad as like something like Adobe's formatting right now. And I hope that gets resolved soon. That's another wild west incident, as it were.
Man, the drift of the direction of licensing in computer software, it almost models what Klaus Schwab said: "You will own nothing and be happy." Like you don't own the software anymore; you license it, and it does. You don't have a CD or anything or product key.
Yeah, with that, the swaps thing there, and it seems to be like the traditional thing is just all subscriptions, right? Like everyone went the subscription route, and the beginning of that I thought was the music industry. Like I looked at it and like it took like hundreds and hundreds of music labels like 10 years to come up with the subscription model. And when they guys like, okay, so you've mastered the CD and the DVD and all that. There's still, you can still make new inventions and new gadgets. Like you're not, like I know the iPad exists or the iPod. Like you can still keep going, right? There's so much like space there, and there's other markets too. You don't have to be just a subscription. Like that doesn't have to be the be all end all, right? But it seems to be like where I think it's like similar thing with the parties is they looked at it and went, like the think tank says this is the way to go, and like everyone's getting the same think tank to tell them the same thing, and they end up with one model. Like okay, guys, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where else did I notice that? It was movies. Like I remember in the 2000s, like when Napster came out and LimeWire, we used to pirate videos, movies, TV shows, whatever. And when the big Hollywood production companies went to our ISPs like Rogers would stand for our rights. They'd be like, "No, get lost. The payment of Scary is my customer, not you." Now they're just like, "Yeah, sure, we'll give you all the payment of Scari's downloads. Let's send this guy to jail."
No, a lot of like some of that was going on like way later on, like and it is like basically customer rights have and consumer rights and overall have materialized into nothing. And I don't know if it's because like they all think it's supposed to be dealt with by the politicians now and not like a consumer rights advocacy group. I haven't seen many of them in a long time on many of issue, like especially even simple things like banking. Like back in the day, if you had a problem with a payment, you could just tell your bank, "Hey man, this isn't cool. Let's sort this out." Now they're like, "No, you have to issue you a card. You can no longer step in on the customer's behalf when they feel like they've been done wrong." And I really gotta wonder about that, right? Like, is it because there's too many customers like ripping off businesses, or like I don't know what the general idea like, but like they used to actually provide a service, right? Like you go to your bank and like, "Hey, we can help you today," and now it's like, "Oh, we have like the mobile app, or like we can send it to you digitally." Like, yeah, no, like that doesn't seem very safe or smart. Like, like you need to do more and not just give East India $100 million and watch like them work for half the wages of your former employees. That's another wild thing, right? Like that happened to multiple industries too, which is like, why are you gutting them all, right? Those people did work before, and now you just come up with these plans that don't actually help anyone, your customers included, right?
It's like a slow drift towards. Some of it is the consumer side. Like I don't know why they demand that everything has to be done through an app. Like I was flying and my flight got canceled, and I went to the desk and I'm like, "Yeah, can you rebook me?" She's like, "Oh no, you have to go download the app and then talk to a
Yeah.
virtual agent." I'm like, "My phone battery died, lady. What, I gotta live here for the rest of my life?" Like someone fix the problem.
No, yeah, that a lot of things in my life come up to that too, right? I'm speaking with someone on the phone, or I'm speaking with like. So another incident like that I've been trying to resolve for my father's business on his behalf, trying to help him with, is like a lot of the different like eBay policies and stuff. Like, so they went and made their own PayPal. So they had PayPal originally, and then they separated and they made their own. And I think it was the grand concept of it all was, well, different states and different provinces are willing to collect taxes with you, and you can earn 1 cent per transaction. Like that, like literally, that's why they ditched like PayPal, was they could make 1 cent per transaction. Like, this sounds beautiful, and at the end of the day, like on my end at least, I think you have better luck in the states. But on my end, when you're trying to deal with bigger companies, it's all automated, and like I write letters, I email them, and it's like, well, try our automated service and go through these 12 hoops. And then the 11th or 12th hoop is go try this automated service over there. It's like that's where I'm at in a lot of things in life. Like, well, like this is just a big old scam or pyramid scheme, boys. Like, you need to change this up, get the humans back, and try again, right?
I think if this continues on, people are just gonna move and buy a farm and just live out their days.
Yeah, there's just a lot of issues, man. I'm not sure like what like that's my experience anyways on some of that, right? And again, in the courts, I'm not fending any better. Like, yeah, one topic I wanted to mention, on that whole subject was, a recent family member passed away, and I was trying to delay a court matter, and I, I showed up anyways because it was around the time of the fellow's passing, and I was obligated to, and to what, right? It seemed like a predetermined outcome. I was like trying to say, "Hey guys, like someone in my family just passed away. Can I have some time for bereavement?" And just, no, we don't deal with humanity here. We got like these policies here and all these like, no, this isn't helpful, right? Like, this is like kind of like dramatic, and I'd like some time to work on this. And like, no, we want to get this out of the way. Like, no, like this is completely inappropriate. Like I've been following up that person because I don't like, that's not even a level of humanity or respect I appreciate personally, right? Like if I'm asking like for time to grieve, right? I don't, I don't want to get the I don't know. And they thought they're being nice to me. They're great, right? Just great. Yeah. Lots of troubles here, man. Lots of things like, you know, lots of
You
human rights
know,
being disrespected.
you mentioned the bank. The banking sector is getting out. I do a lot of wire transfers to the U.S.
Right.
and we were counting like we needed 20. It was like 28 signatures and initials for one wire transfer. And me and the lady were laughing. I'm like, "This is ridiculous." She's like, "I know, but it's the new government policy." So it's not always the bank. 28 signatures and
Yeah.
initials. Like, what could you possibly need out of that?
So again, part of that, yeah, like there's many aspects in that, as well as with mortgages that the bank is, or banks are directly involved with the government to issue things. And a lot of the policy you look at for just a second, go, well, as a representative of your customers, why would you put up for that? Like, so even if like your own staff or customers, why would you put up with that, right? Like, if you're going to represent anyone, it should be the like your own side plus your customers in the disputes, especially if it doesn't help your customers, right? And and that's not just banking too. There's other aspects of it when the government gets involved, is especially with say the COVID thing, right? Like, why didn't the restaurant step up and go, hey man, like we respect our customers enough? And like there was a few, and it was like, let's tie them to the cross. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, we don't need any of that. We could have skipped all 4 years of that, right? And I don't know. It's just like I just kept. I studied other things, and I tried to help people where I could, right? And it's just some wild times, right?
Canuck Saram steps in to answer my question. Payment, that signature requirement load is a sign of how tight fleeing capital must be restrained. Developing countries do that as well. Thoughts?
Um, yeah, I have used banks to transfer money like in a personal sense with people before. I guess it's like if you're a business, there's more hurdles, right? Again, like I was trying to start a few businesses there with with some others, and I got nowhere fast, right? So I just went the whole Civic route. And again, like there's not much, there's nothing civil in this civic arena, I guess, as it were, in the courts.
Canuck Saram, I have a different view. In the Middle East, the third world, they usually put like a cap. You can only remove this much a month. In this case, I think it's this whole fentanyl thing, Chinese money laundering. So the people are demanding that there's a stop to it, and the politicians are like, "All right, we'll just make new laws," and the banks just go along with it.
Yeah, I do know that all that casino stuff going on, where some people thought like that they were being threatened by some groups. Like that seems a wild scenario too in BC and I guess beyond. Um, I guess that could be like the genesis of a lot of that, right? Like, and that's like a whole like where is our attorney general on that one, right? Like, oh right, running in politics, right? Okay, great, right? Um, yeah, yeah. There's lots of troubles in BC, especially, right? And I've been trying to fight as many of them as I can. It's pretty tough to advocate. Like there is many different like ombudsmen and other groups. There's multiple types that to help with some issues, and they're the I guess the go between government and enterprise or whatever. And but there used to be like many more consumer rights groups of all stripes, and there's still a few for businesses and stuff. But and they care about subjects, but there's a lot on their plate already, right? And I just don't see like as many stepping up on the customer right front for just simple things, right? Like again, there's many scenarios that like banking and other things where 10, 15 years ago there too, there was simple solutions that didn't waste the customer's time on like a myriad of things, right? And it's not just like anti-fraud stuff, just like simple like make life easier things, right? Yeah.
I had never thought about that, like advocacy group for consumer rights. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't seen any of them in a long time, man. I don't know, they're not stepping up for much these days. They're like again, you have the ombudsman, which are like again, they're partly third party, partly government, and there's a variety of those. But I think the real difference was the advocacy groups back in the day for all the little issues. Like, hey, this is big, and people can do that themselves, right? But it seems to be like we need the soundbite. We need like that political guy did a soundbite. We need a soundbite for the political guy, and they're talking about that issue that doesn't help anyone, right? Like it is an issue, but it's not helping anything, right? And there's other issues going on. It's like, well, are just the politicians handling that, or can anyone else handle that? Like because there's more going on than whatever's in the political sphere, right? And yeah, it just like when I look at social media, it seems to be sound bites, but occasionally one of them does step up and go, no, I really care passionately about this issue, and I will talk about it with anyone that comes to either email or whatever, right? oftentimes, though, like when I check in on things, it's just, well, we don't have time. Us and our staff don't have time to like address that, so we're just going to ignore you. Like, okay, that's that. Thank you. Like I don't know. But I understand government's busy, right? Like I've tried some offices and like 40-minute wait times just to get a phone call with somebody, right? Yeah.
You ever tried getting in touch with the CRA? It's like the ultimate black ops sort of organization. It's hard to get a hold of them.
I do check on like some newsletters they produce. Yeah, I don't like follow them too closely or interact with them much. Like sometimes when I'm addressing things, it's like, okay, that's gone. Like I need to figure that out why that's not happening. But it seems smaller matters, especially if you got like a account. It's all seemed to be going smoothly so far, right? On my end, but yeah, there's just a mixed bag of problems everywhere, man. I don't know. Like I try my best to resolve them. I offer different solutions, and sometimes they're novel. And in the courts, at least, it just goes, well, why don't we look at case law and pick the dumbest example ever and follow that? Like, oh, well, that's not helping anyone, is it? And again, especially when you have the charter rights, right? And there's so much room to carve out new things, new ideas for the people, right? And yeah, people are worried about like say the section 33 or whatever of the charter, but there's many beautiful aspects, like especially the quality of rights and all that, that can easily be pushed much farther into the field of the courts and elsewhere, right?
So, Dave, in wrapping up the show, can you maybe one thing we didn't speak about is your book. Do you want to give a plug for your book?
Ooh, yeah, yeah. So the old autobiography here. It's on Amazon, and I did give you a link earlier for a review of it, and they have some more links on it. And it's real direct personal like takes of prior relationships, and there's some love stories in there because why not, right? Having fun growing up, and now just kind of the bitter old man that has coffee like so often, but no, I'm just studying things and doing my own thing at this point in life. Yeah.
And the link to your book on Amazon, it's in the, the YouTube description.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
and if people want to follow you, I guess they can follow you on X at Canada Waltz.
Kanata Waltz, yeah, and that's the title of the autobiography there. And there's a story behind it in the autobiography, right? Yeah, there's a few languages that I guess work with the word Kanata, and that's where some believe Canada came from, right? And there's that one, I guess, part in Ontario where they believe that is mistaken, like, oh, this whole land is Canada, or there's that, it's just like a lore thing, right, of Canada. Really beautiful stuff, and I go off about some hobbies. I like, even though I've been cooking for 15 years, I don't go on any tirades about that. And another big passion of mine is, I guess, botany, and I've kind of studied a lot more stuff because some aspects of it tie into like Environment Canada and stuff. So I've been studying them quite a bit, figuring out like what's going on there, right? Very interesting. Like from my perspective, like the if you go back in history, there's some conservatives like kind of got rid of some professionals in some fields, and that was one of them. And yeah, like the liberals, like if you're a true liberal, you'd actually bring some of that back, perhaps, or improve upon it. And they're like, no, but we can force you to remove straws or something. We could do this. We could, like, I don't know. It seems to be like a social experiment than an actual environmental one. And anyways, I was hoping to promote one other book though that
Sure.
got me into, I guess, botany, and that was from a local author. Long ago, he's passed away, but he was actually a friend of the family's, and he lived in the neighborhood. And he actually, I guess, traveled all of British Columbia to talk about the flora and fauna, and he produced this book here, Trees, Shrubs, and Flowers to Know. And his name is Chester Lyons. Again, was a friend of the family.
Sorry,
And
can you hold it back up again, just
oh, sorry, yeah.
for a few seconds? Trees, Shrubs, Flowers, No in British Columbia, Washington by C.P. Lyons and Bill
Yeah,
Merrily.
Chester Lyons, yeah. And very nice old man, and got me into that. And I studied some aspects of that, and I got into agriculture and their farming techniques and stuff, and got into somewhere along the way. I got worried about water, and so I started studying the different aspects of that. And lots of beautiful stuff in the gardening space or in the agriculture of the land and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just kind of toiling away in the course, right? Not like lots of fun stuff you could be doing, but like, oh, legal, more legal, more legal. That's my dailies. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, Dave, thanks very much for coming on and for I don't know, giving me a fun conversation for my Saturday.
I appreciate you having me, sir. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to be watching a lot more of your podcast there. The ones I've sat down for so far have been quite interesting and informative. I appreciate you hosting such.
Well, now you're part of that archive as well. So take
Okay.
care.
Have
Bye.
a good one, man.